Did you know Louis Vuitton's famous monogram pattern might be stolen?
I've been screaming this for years. Luxury fashion is built on borrowed brilliance. The biggest names in the industry, they thrive on pretending every stroke of their designs is divine, untouched, one of a kind. But behind the scenes, it's a revolving door of lifted ideas, reskinned aesthetics, and creative reinterpretations that conveniently forget to name the source. And now, finally, one of them is being dragged into the light. Louis Vuitton is allegedly being sued by a French artist, not for something vague or debatable, but for outright stealing his original monogram pattern, not being inspired by it, not referencing it, stealing it, using it, selling it, and never even bothering to ask permission, let alone cut him a check.
In 1896, George Vuitton didn't just make that pattern out of thin air. He allegedly took heavy inspo from Japanese designs called kamon. These crests have been around for ages in Japan, and when they started trending in Europe, George Vuitton said, "Merci beaucoup," and took that. No credit, no shout out, just vibes. So next time you wear an LV bag, just remember where that really came from.
And honestly, I'm not surprised in the slightest. I think this was always going to happen. Louis Vuitton has walked that razor-thin line between homage and theft for decades. They built a kingdom on the backs of original creatives, often without even blinking. And now, someone's finally calling them out. In court. What's even more insane is how fast this is spreading. Designers are buzzing, fashion insiders are whispering, and the internet is straight up erupting. But Louis Vuitton, they're acting like nothing's happening. No comment, no denial, just silence. That's not confidence, that's fear. This isn't just another lawsuit. This could be the tipping point for the entire luxury world. The moment one artist's courage exposes how the most powerful fashion house in the world allegedly built part of its brand on someone else's brilliance. Let's get into it. Here's the raw truth. A French artist who's been flying under the radar has finally had enough. He's stepping forward with legal papers in hand, and he's not playing games. He's accusing Louis Vuitton of copying his monogram pattern, a design he created, developed, and owns. The lawsuit claims the brand took it, printed it, profited from it, and never gave him a single ounce of credit. And let me be clear, this isn't some delusional cash grab. The visual comparisons are brutal. The design allegedly used by Louis Vuitton looks shockingly similar to the artist's original work, and this isn't the type of thing that could have just happened. These patterns go through layers of development. They're sketched, digitized, color graded, sampled, tested on leather. There's no oops in that process. I think someone at LV saw that pattern and made a cold, calculated decision. This'll sell, and no one will find out. But they did, and now they're cornered. What makes this whole situation so maddening is the irony. Louis Vuitton has built its image on being the originator, the brand that everyone else copies, the pinnacle of pattern, structure, and craftsmanship. But if this lawsuit is legit, then they weren't the originators. They were the opportunists. This isn't just a legal issue. This is a creative credibility crisis. Because if Louis Vuitton, the holy grail of luxury, has been caught stealing, then what else have they gotten away with? And make no mistake, people are furious, because the second the story broke, the internet started digging, and they found receipts.
It requires a lot of skill to turn it and get it on the right way.
Il y a des bouchées, des bacs plus 4, 5, 6, on en a, hein.
Let's take a step back and look at the delicious irony here. Louis Vuitton is notorious for being copyright crazy. This is a brand that's sued over everything. They've gone after artists for paintings, DJs for bootleg shirts, TikTokers for parody merch, even charity auctions that featured LV lookalikes. They patrol the internet like copyright cops, sending cease and desist letters faster than most people check their email. They treat their monogram like it's holy scripture. You so much as sketch a flower that looks like one of their logos? Boom. Lawsuit. They've even been accused of targeting students and activists. Their entire legal team exists to protect every inch of that precious brown and gold pattern. So now, they're the ones being accused of stealing a design? That's poetic justice. That's karma served on an embossed silver platter. One of the most jaw-dropping examples of their hypocrisy was the Nadia Plesner case. Remember that?
De l'entrée, où on me donne des morceaux de cuir jusqu'au moment où je vais avoir livré ma pièce. Je veux pas qu'on reproduise un geste de façon indéfinie en se disant bon bah je fais toujours ce même geste et enfin, je pense qu'on est vraiment là pour apprendre un métier et pas des tâches.
They sued her for using a Louis Vuitton-inspired bag in a painting about genocide. That's how far they were willing to go to protect their image. But now that they're the ones allegedly lifting an artist's work, they're suddenly silent? That's not just suspicious, that's disgusting. And the silence is deafening. Not a statement, not a press release, not even a flimsy denial. That tells me one thing. They know they messed up because if they were innocent, their legal team would have had a rebuttal out within hours. Instead, they're doing what powerful brands do when they get caught, hoping the noise dies down, but it won't, because this time, people are paying attention, artists are angry, designers are watching, the fashion world is holding its breath. And Louis Vuitton, they're about to find out what happens when you treat inspiration like a buffet line, and assume no one's going to speak up. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Let's stop pretending this is a Louis Vuitton only issue, because the real problem, this industry is rotten when it comes to crediting artists. What's happening here is just the tip of the iceberg. The fashion world has a long, disgusting habit of picking up ideas from smaller creators, chewing them up and spitting them out without a shred of acknowledgement. And most of the time, the original artists never even know they've been ripped off. I think we've all seen it. A random illustrator on Instagram drops a killer pattern. It goes viral. Maybe it gets shared by a few influencers. The next season? Boom, it's walking down a runway in Milan, slapped onto bags, sneakers, jackets, with zero credit to the original source. The big brands call it inspiration, but let's be honest, if someone took inspiration from the LV logo and used it without permission, Louis Vuitton would have their lawyers flying across the globe before the ink even dried. It's a one-way street. Brands are allowed to borrow and remix and repackage. But the moment an independent artist pushes back, they're told they should be flattered. Flattered that their work was seen. Flattered that they were chosen by the fashion elite. But this time, someone said enough. This artist didn't roll over. He didn't beg for a collab. He sued. And I think that's why this story is hitting so hard, because it's showing everyone, from streetwear kids to studio artists, that maybe, just maybe, you can fight back. And if Louis Vuitton loses this case, that's huge. That tells every small designer, illustrator, and pattern artist out there, you can win. You can hold the biggest names in fashion accountable. You can demand respect. That's the real reason this case matters. Not just because of the money, not just because of the name, but because it's finally shifting the power back to the people who actually make the art. This isn't just legal drama. This is a full-scale reputation collapse. And trust me, what the fashion crowd has turned. Artists are enraged, creators feel betrayed, and the internet is tearing Louis Vuitton to pieces. I've seen post after post, TikToks, threads, rants, Instagram stories, calling them out. One creator posted a side-by-side of the original pattern and the version LV allegedly used. The resemblance? Scary. It wasn't a nod, it was a copy-paste job. The design, the symmetry, the icon spacing, it was all right there, and the comments? Absolutely savage. People are calling the brand lazy, greedy, out of touch, parasites in designer shoes. I even saw one TikTok with over 2 million views where the creator literally called LV a dinosaur choking on stolen ideas. It's not just that people are mad, it's that they're done letting fashion houses pretend theft is flattery, done watching artists get exploited while corporations cash in. And this time, the receipts are everywhere. Screenshots, archive links, timestamped uploads of the artist's work dating years back, long before LV ever dropped their suspiciously similar version. What Louis Vuitton didn't calculate, and this is where I think they messed up big, is that Gen Z and millennials don't play by old rules. They don't wait for press releases. They look for patterns. They dig through archives. They hold grudges. And when they see a brand doing dirty, they cancel with force. Louis Vuitton thought they could ride this out, but this isn't 2005. You can't just ignore the internet until it gets bored. If you lose the trust of creatives and collectors, you lose your identity. And right now, LV's identity is hanging by a thread. Let's talk about what Louis Vuitton truly fears. A courtroom, not a blog post, not a tweet, not even a viral TikTok, a courtroom where every private message, every design draft, every sketch and mood board suddenly becomes evidence. This isn't some whispered drama behind closed doors. This is full-blown public trial territory, and I hope this lawsuit goes to trial, because that's when we get the receipts that matter. Internal emails, creative briefings, maybe even footage from design meetings. You don't get to hide behind brand mystique when a judge is asking for documentation. And let's not forget what happens if even one team member, one designer, one assistant, one freelancer decides to come forward and say, yeah, we saw that artist's work before launch. It's over. One whistleblower and the whole facade collapses. I think Louis Vuitton knows this. That's why they're staying silent. They're not crafting a public defense because they're not ready to face what might come out. Because if even one person confirms the artist's claims, it doesn't just destroy the case, it destroys trust. And if that happens, other artists will come forward. Others who were too scared or too small to speak up before. Others who had their ideas lifted, reworked, and rebranded by corporations that thought they'd never get caught. Because once you show that the giant can bleed, the crowd stops fearing it. This isn't just about Louis Vuitton. It's about every major brand that ever treated independent creators like free idea farms. If this artist wins, the game changes for good. So here we are, a luxury giant backed into a corner by the very kind of artist they've spent years ignoring. I think this lawsuit is the moment people finally start holding brands accountable for how they treat creatives. Louis Vuitton wanted to own luxury, but they forgot that owning style doesn't mean owning someone else's art, and now they're facing the consequences. I'll be watching this lawsuit like a hawk, and honestly, I hope the artist wins, because if Louis Vuitton stole that monogram and thought they'd never be challenged, they deserve everything that's coming.